that people like myself and all over the world remain convinced that Brigitte Macron was in fact born a man named JEAN-MICHEL TROGNEUX. It's just a PR effort, and people assumed, oh, Brigitte must be suing because Candace said that she's a man. Nope, suing on a technicality because I said that Brigitte stole her brother's ID, and that's accusing her of being a thief. I received a phone call asking me to leave the story of Brigitte alone. Brigitte has a lot of power in the press. She's prepared to present blood, lying, explicitly lying.
Candace Owens isn't backing down. Her war with French First Lady Brigitte Macron is heating up once again.
It was just a PR effort, and people assumed, oh, Brigitte must be suing because Candace said that she's a man. Nope, suing on a technicality because I said that Brigitte stole her brother's ID, and that's accusing her of being a thief. I don't know who was advising them. A sitting president of a foreign country suing a podcaster in another country shows that there is something very true about the claims that are being made, not the opposite.
Speaking in a recent interview, Owens claimed Macron's legal action is not centered on allegations that Brigitte was born male, but Owens' assertion that Brigitte stole her brother's ID, a claim Owens says is being treated as an accusation of theft.
I received a phone call asking me to leave the story of Brigitte alone. Brigitte has a lot of power in the press. She's prepared to present blood, lying, explicitly lying, because that's not what's at the center of this case. You're not suing me for saying you're a man, so obviously we don't need blood. By the way, we never asked for blood. We're asking for pictures from like 30 years of your life. It just don't exist. It's just you just suddenly appear as a teacher at this school. You can't produce photos. You allegedly had 3 children, maybe some photos of you pregnant, raising your children on family vacations. Nothing. It's just a blank space. And so it is also because of how impossibly low the bar is that people like myself and all over the world remain convinced that Brigitte Macron was in fact born a man named Jean-Michel Trogneux.
The wide-ranging interview also saw Candace discuss her career, her first encounter with Charlie Kirk, and other personal and political topics.
Started making YouTube videos, so I started on my own, and then I met Charlie at a conference, and he hired me after I did a panel, and we then just for 3 years traveled together 4 times a week minimally, doing events, trying to get his name out there. I was the communications director, and then we had our Kanye moment where Kanye randomly tweeted, "I love the way Candace Owens thinks," and things sort of blew up from there. So we were just very close. There's no other way to say it. We were very close, and he's just a part of the Candace Owens story, political story. I think there was a base expectation there, and it's certainly not what has happened. It has been almost the opposite. I don't understand how the entire world realizes that there's something wrong with the story, and yet someone who can pick up the phone and call the president, the vice president, and the FBI and demand documents and answers seems altogether disinterested. Something that I like to do is just play common sense games. Vladimir Putin did not feel the need to issue a statement within 48 hours and say, "I did not kill Charlie Kirk." What an unusual thing to feel the need to do. To come out on the news and to explicitly state that you did not kill someone. Quite a busy guy to do that. To be the person who tweeted that he was dead before the President of the United States, that seems a bit involved. But we'd be veering toward conspiracy, to note these very strange actions that the state of Israel took, the posting of the AI flag of Charlie holding, that was all quite bizarre. It was almost as if to say, obviously don't look here, and then of course the subsequent lies, which we were able to unpack, to demonstrate, as people were insisting he never once moved 1 inch on, and then it turns out, no, actually the night before he died, he tweeted. He wrote to his close friends that he had abandoned the pro-Israel cause. So to me, there's never a reason to lie unless you are covering something up. That's not to me, that's common sense. Why do people lie? To cover up a truth. That is the only reason people ever lie. So the question is, what truth is being covered up about Charlie? I've just been stunned by the beauty. I have not yet been able to run around St. Petersburg because we just got in yesterday, but I was in Moscow, and Moscow was positively stunning. It defied I didn't really have any expectations, but if I had any, they would have been defied by just how clean, how safe, how beautiful, how historic the city is. I always call it the Cold War hangover, where there's not really an explanation, but they just sort of tell you Russia is a no-no and a no-go, and you, as obviously I'm at an age now where I have to have experiences. I don't just trust the media, because if I did, I wouldn't trust myself. That is another illusion that I would say has been dissipated as well. They love them. They genuinely love Americans. They don't understand why there is this frost, and I wanted them to know that we don't understand it either. We're on opposite sides here, but we're all thinking the same thing, and that is being poorly reflected by our media. It is literally between our media and Russia. It is not the American people. For whatever reason, I think this has been the most triggering trip for the mainstream media, and it has been laughable to see the headlines they're coming up with. It's very easy for me to accept that they're lying when they lie about me. Every single article that is written about me it's fiction. I don't even respond really. I always respond with humor, or I kind of make fun of them when they ask questions now. I don't take them seriously enough to dignify half the things that they're saying with a response. That's a great place to be. It's like watching a cartoon. I tell them, write what to your heart's content, right? View it as a creative writing exercise, because you guys have no interest in what the truth is. It would have sufficed to just say, Candace is going to Russia on a family vacation, and while she's there, she's going to be speaking on the topic of family at Spieth. They just can't do it. They fall short every single time, and it becomes like the mythology behind Russia. I think what's become increasingly more frustrating is that they don't even think they need to articulate a reason for this is why you shouldn't like Russia, or this is why you should like Ukraine. They've become in their own minds so powerful that it's just a dictation. We are telling you by creed that you should believe this and you should believe that, and we don't feel like it requires any further explanation, and that's no longer working. It may have served in older generations. It's certainly not working amongst the youth, and the more that they try to constrict and to control, the more that they lose a hold of the American mindset. They don't like independent people going out to speak, because they know that it can fall outside of their narratives typically, because there's a more genuine pursuit of truth and understanding. And it's hard to reflect. People don't remember because there's so many lies that were told. But at the beginning of the conflict with Ukraine, when I say they didn't even bother to articulate a reason, they were saying basically that Vladimir Putin was sick and he had gone crazy and deranged. That was it. They have to be able to create a caricature of everyone, myself included, right? So he's supposed to be unstable, I guess, unintelligent, angry, and wanting to take over the West. And that immediately, if you inject any fresh air or you allow people to go direct and answer questions, it diminishes a caricature. You do have to also appreciate the richness of the irony of literal foreign agents accusing, as a part of their propaganda program, people like me and Tucker Carlson of being foreign agents when we are not accepting money from any foreign country. I am in cahoots with no foreign government, and our interest is purely journalistic. I am interested. I've been trying to land an interview with Putin actually for 5 years since I was at the Daily Wire. I went to them and said we should do this interview, and Tucker Carlson always scoops me. He always does it first. I think they thought that if Trump said, "Oh, let's forget about this," then people would move on, and they were shown how no, not even he has the power to make people look away from this. So I am glad that the conversation is returning to a more spiritual basis. I'm happy that people are contending with great evil, the great evil, Satan, and recognizing that, because it means that society is going in the right direction. When you recognize that it's true evil, it's spiritual darkness, it means that there's going to be a global awakening, a spiritual awakening. I think that's what's happening. We're talking a lot more about Satanism. We are talking about what that means, why there are more articles written in distaste regarding Tucker Carlson than Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, that really tells us that we are getting something very wrong. We are being told that Tucker is dangerous and Bibi Netanyahu is a friend. That is so far removed from common sense that it can't stand, and it's not standing. I always tell my listeners I'd never run for president. I'd only run for dictator, because I'm not dealing I'm not dealing with Congress. I'm not dealing with lobbying. I'm not dealing with any of this. I'm not dealing with Lindsey Graham calling for another war. I'm just going to be like, here's what we're doing and here's what we're not doing. So I tell them, vote for me if the terms are acceptable, that I will be dictator of the United States, and that is it. But in the short run, I really don't have an interest in running for office because there is just too much inauthenticity. I would be interested in strongly getting behind someone like Tucker Carlson, though. Tucker, if this ever happens, please have me. I'm pitching myself.